on AGI Inception on air. Hi, Brett. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
All well, all well. So, Brett, could you tell a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I am a product and production manager at Fox for live video. I have a background in computer science and mathematics. So the AI background that I do have comes from working a few years in analytical applications as well as in machine learning. I apply those now with the engineers that I work with in order to help enhance our streaming platforms for Fox.com.
That's beautiful.
So let me ask you just a quick question. What type of videos on Fox.com, just so we know?
So we do both live and video on demand. So we do live events. So any live event that's happening, we are going straight from broadcast all the way to streaming, which is something that's still very new. It's a new, it's probably about 6 or 7 years old, I think. And we also do video on demand. So two things that happen with video on demand is we can have like a video. So for Fox, we have like Bob's Burgers or Simpsons or Family Guy that gets pre-recorded and gets put into our system. Or if we have a live event, when the live event is done, we bundle it and package it and put it into what's called an iVOD. And that's also a video that you can watch later on. They do expire. But yeah.
Well, I just want to say before turning it over to Rupesh in here, this is as close as I have seen to Brett when I was developing my own career. I have a tremendous admiration because I understand what it takes to go from computer science to AI and then to the media entertainment business as a product manager. So Rupesh, lead us now.
Yes, AGI Inception. So, Brett, as we spoke before, we're going to need a one word, which would be one of the core principles for a self-assembling artificial general intelligence. Mm-hmm. So what would your word be?
Considering how my life has gone, I think perseverance is the word that guides me. So perseverance is my word.
Oh, wow. That is one virtue which everyone should follow. That is some, like, never give up.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's the reason why it's, you know, we all have our, like, for our farther reaching goals. And I think one of the things that tells the difference between people that get there and that don't get there is like really pushing through a lot of the difficulties and just stuff that you know is going to happen wrong, making sure that you bounce back and stuff like that. So yeah, perseverance is what has guided my life from computer science all the way through. So yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. So let's say we have a personalized AI. Is Brett Perseverance AI? That's the name of your personal AI. What do you think that Brett personal Perseverance AI, how do you think it will react when it starts getting all this information on the internet? You are in the media and entertainment business, so you know there's everything out there. How do you think it will interpret
that? The way that my personalized AI Perseverance AI would interpret that is like, there's so much content, right? Like that we can use. And right now, there's, you know, especially politically and stuff like that, there's so much that people need to see, and being able to pull in that data and find the things that are the most important, we need to make sure that those get pushed to light. And so the perseverance part comes from like being able to prove that the content that's being provided or the content that's being looked at is worth being added into our system. And that is something that I think will take a lot of work. And so, like, in knowing the process of how long it takes to get a conceptual, like an idea all the way to completion is actually really difficult. Even with like coronavirus, like when the coronavirus hit, and we lost a lot of our Fox Sports, like all of the sports just like went away, right?
Yeah.
We created a coronavirus channel, and that coronavirus channel still required weeks of approval, even though it was like the only thing that anyone was doing. Like no one was doing anything else except staying inside and trying to not get infected by coronavirus. Like that still took a long time. So for other things, like being able to prioritize like showing like the right content and the content that people need to see is what I think about when I think about
perseverance, worth, and what's the last one? Perseverance, worth, and I forgot your other word, because this is an amazing conversation that we're having right now. Think about this. We were talking, before the podcast, and I wrote my autobiography 3 years ago. It's called Life is Hard. And I understand the concept of perseverance and what is worth bringing in, and then all the approval process. And in one of the things that I said, my AI, Alberto, adapt AI, what I said was, something, if it needs to justify what is worth, one of the things that I put was the biography of Dr. Martin Luther King, Let the Trumpet Sound. That was my second input to the computer.
Yeah.
Because it will understand what perseverance is. Not easy, and you need to decide what it's worth. Now, in your case, what will happen if Brett Perseverance AI goes to North Korea? Do you think it will have a different set of inputs that it will affect the output?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it'd be almost impossible. And then I think what you'd probably have to do if you really did want that content out there, you'd have to go almost political and work through the political chain and make sure that certain content is actually going to get out there that needs to be out there. And there's no guarantee. But yeah, I mean, it's, the way that
you are the first person. Of all our guests have, when it comes to that point, they tend to split economic and spiritual, which sometimes spiritual is commingled with family.
Right.
But political, being what it moved the world, literally, nowadays, nobody has come with that. Why would you think, it's obvious why you think, and they're correct, in my opinion, what is important. But how will perseverance convince within the political spectrum, not North Korea, within the political spectrum, how would it convince that it's worth the Brett Perseverance AI?
So just to your other point, I think politics plays a role in it. Like you said, it plays a role in everything. So for North Korea, it might play a larger role, like most of the role. But like in America, it still plays in America here, it plays like 20-25% of the role, right? Like what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. And like Facebook has its own guidelines that kind of mirror those types of political standings. And there still is a requirement for people to become a little bit political, no matter what. And so I think that's the reason why politics is a really big deal. The spiritual, like if you're talking about a place like North Korea, the spiritual and stuff like that doesn't really matter because it's all about the top dictating to the bottom, like what type of content will be available. And then your second question, I think do you mind repeating your second question? I apologize.
That's okay.
Got on this tangent.
So you have the political side, you have the spiritual side, but you have an economic side. too,
Mhm.
that people
Yeah.
have brought in.
Yeah.
So how does perseverance will, how would it identify economics factors? Would it be just? Would it be like it is right now, whatever it is?
It really, I mean, yeah, that's interesting that they did split it up that way, because it does make sense. And I think economics really depends on the type of country that's being run. So if we're talking about the United States, or that is, supposedly a capitalistic society, economics really do run a lot of decisions as well, and a lot of politics. So that could be something that is equally as important as a political approach. And if you can look at things and say, these are the things that are super popular right now, like there's a bunch of things happening in the US related to the police right now. And when they look at that information, they see the explosion, and you see this explosion in views, or in viewing metrics and data. Automatically, we're gonna move into that direction, right? So we automatically get notified of these things that are happening, and I think that that's where AI really does help. And in social media platforms, there's a lot less barrier to entry. But when you're talking about like Fox or CBS News or CNN or something like that, they will receive that data, and then that's how it makes better decisions, because they know they'll get more ratings and get more money from showing things that is being suggested, right? And they receive the same information from us, from as we do. They get it straight from Twitter, they get it from Facebook, and they see there's 60 million views, and they're like, wow, we have to cover this. And then they, right, or it shows up on their timeline or on their feed. So, yeah.
And there's this one thing I kind of think we did not end up covering when we spoke about Bread Perseverance AI. That is, like, when an AGI who has one of its first nodes as Perseverance would, how do I say, exist in the world, it would value perseverance by other people. Like like people who work hard value the hard workers also, as equally as how much because they know what it takes to slog their ass off and get things done. And that is how our world will become a better place if we think of it from that aspects too. Because there's a lot of people who work hard, but their hard work cannot give them results because of some fixes of the world today which are there. I'm not saying they're wrong, but how do I say it? People just don't get their chances where they're due. And when the AGI, which would follow perseverance as one of its core principles, it would see the amount of hard work people have put in, and then it would help people accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think life would be much fairer if we worked according to perseverance. There's purely perseverance. There's so many other factors, but I think that there are so many great people in the world that have persevered, and they do recognize other people of that ability, right? So I'm like, I don't know if you guys follow like any American comedians, but we have a comedian called Kevin Hart. And,
oh yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
I'm a New Yorker living in Florida. What else can I say?
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, wonderful.
I follow him in India.
Oh, really? Okay, perfect. So yeah, I mean, Kevin Hart, and there are a lot of other people that persevered quite a bit. And when they see perseverance from other people, they bring them up. And I think that is the type of society that I think we need to have when it comes to perseverance and it comes to hard work, like really helping people that really are doing the best they can and maximizing their potential. There are people that are doing so well in a certain tax bracket, and some people that are doing so well at a much, much higher tax bracket. And, it also has to do with their goals too, right? Like my goal is to eventually own my own company. And that is, coming at some point. But some other person's goal might be, just to, do construction, right? Like they love doing it. Or I have a friend of mine that really loves to do horticulture, like working in gardens and setting up landscapes and stuff. And that is what he works his butt off to do, and
I'm so sorry, Brett. I'm gonna have to interrupt
yeah.
because we have a little time limit when it comes to our videos.
Oh, okay.
Like today,
That's okay. Let me wrap up this in here because Brett, this is fascinating. Perseverance, worth, influence. People who can influence other. That is, I think, I can honestly say that's the story of my life, and that's the story of my family. And by the way, that is the story of Rupesh and I. Rupesh contacted me some months ago because he needed somebody to mentor. He lives in India, not in a highly populated area. Yeah. And here I am. I decided to mentor him. And, to see that there are other people who understand the concept of perseverance, of worth, of you need to help others. There's no better way than to finish this podcast. This is what I call an adult podcast. and
never give up.
Exactly.
And I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Alberto. Thank you, Rupesh. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Brett. It was great to have you on the podcast.